They fired me in front of 50 people. 18 hours later, I shut down their entire company with one email. My name is Maya Calloway. I am not on any magazine cover. I do not do TED Talks. I am the woman who built the machine that catches autoimmune disease before a single symptom shows up. And the man who fired me thought he owned that machine. He was wrong. This is the story of how I proved it. 5 years ago, I was a junior engineer with a half-finished prototype and a stack of rejection letters from investors who didn't understand what I was building. I kept going anyway. I built HalvexDx alone, in a rented garage in Austin, Texas, running on a laptop that overheated every 40 minutes. It worked. It worked better than anything on the market. It could flag early-stage lupus, MS, and 3 other autoimmune disorders with 96% accuracy, months before a doctor would normally catch it. I didn't sell it to HalvexDx. I licensed it. There is a difference, and that difference is the entire reason this story exists. A license means they can use it. They cannot own it. Think of it like this. I handed them the keys to a car. The car was still registered in my name. If they broke the agreement, I could take the keys back. Derek Lansing never bothered to read that part of the contract. Quick thing before we keep going: if stories about quiet people outsmarting loud men are your thing, hit subscribe. It costs nothing and it means everything. Derek arrived as the new CEO 18 months ago. He walked into our lab wearing a watch worth more than my first apartment, and a smile built for investor decks. He picked up one of our diagnostic sensors, turned it over like a toy, and set it down without asking. "Maya, right?" he said, not looking at me. "Love the science. But we need a bigger story. We're not selling a device. We're selling a movement. It detects autoimmune disease before it destroys a person's body," I said. Sure, he said. "But nobody invests in lupus, Maya. They invest in vision." That was the first time I understood exactly what kind of man I was dealing with. The erasing started slow. My name dropped off the internal slide decks first. Then my weekly engineering briefings got moved to times I was never available for. I walked past the main conference room one afternoon and saw Derek drawing my own neural architecture on a whiteboard, explaining it to the marketing team like he'd built it in a weekend. I told myself it didn't matter. I was the one holding the patent. You don't corner the person holding the keys. I was wrong about that too. The Slack purge happened on a Tuesday. I opened my phone and the engineering leadership channel was gone. Just gone. I messaged Sam Whitfield, our systems admin, the guy I'd personally hired 3 years earlier. He answered 4 hours later. "Hey Maya." Derek restructured the workspace. "You're back in general engineering chat now." General engineering chat was where interns posted memes about free snacks. I had been quietly moved from the cockpit to the cargo hold, and nobody had told me a meeting was even happening. Here's where it gets dangerous. Keep listening. 2 weeks before the company's biggest pitch meeting, a 23-year-old analyst named Connor Reyes found me in the break room. Connor wore the same vest every single day and called himself an innovation associate. "Hey Maya, quick question," he said. "I'm cleaning up the IP slide for the Solace Ventures deck. Derek wants it to say everything's fully owned by Halvex. Should I just swap out your name for Halvex proprietary technology? Keeps it clean for the buyers." My stomach dropped, but my face didn't move. "Show me the slide," I said. There it was, in bold letters, sitting on top of my own architecture diagram. Property of Halvex Diagnostics. Full ownership. That was not a marketing choice. That was fraud, dressed up in a font called Helvetica. Under our agreement, Halvex had usage rights. Not ownership. Telling a $420 million buyer otherwise was a material breach. "Send that file to me," I told Connor. "Just want to check the formatting." "You're the best, Maya," he said, already typing. He had no idea he'd just handed me a loaded weapon. I didn't confront anyone that day. I opened my personal laptop, on my personal email, and forwarded the file to my attorney, Renata Cole. 3 words. "Timestamp this breach." She replied in 90 seconds. "Confirmed. Section 9 violation. Pull the trigger? I typed back one word. Wait. If I revoked the license too early, Derek would spin it as a bitter ex-employee sabotaging a deal out of spite. I needed him to say it himself. Out loud. In front of witnesses. I needed him to dig his own grave so deep there was no climbing out. The next 2 weeks were strange. Derek installed a brass victory bell outside his office and rang it every time the deal cleared another hurdle. Legal review passed. Ring. Financial audit cleared. Ring. Every single ring was a nail going into a coffin he didn't know he was building. He thought my silence meant surrender. He had never met an engineer before. Silence isn't surrender. Silence is a system compiling, right before it executes. He called me into his office on a Thursday evening, the sun bleeding orange through the glass walls. He didn't offer me a chair. Maya, we need to talk about your transition, he said. Transition? I asked. The Solace deal closes Friday. Your salary's heavy, and frankly, your attitude's heavier. Sign the release, give up any residual IP claims, and we'll call it a graceful exit. 90 days severance. And if I don't? He smiled the smile he used on people he thought he'd already beaten. Then we terminate for cause. Insubordination. We bury you in legal fees until that patent's worth nothing but scrap paper. He was threatening to fire the one person who legally controlled the engine running his entire company. It was almost funny. I'll think about it, I said. You have until the all-hands meeting tomorrow, he said. Don't make this messy, Maya. I didn't answer. I just walked out. This is the part nobody at Halvex saw coming. The next morning, the entire company packed into the glass-walled boardroom everyone called the aquarium. Every meeting in there happened in full view of the entire office. If you cried in the aquarium, the whole building watched. The board had flown in early for what they thought was a pre-acquisition celebration. There was even a trade reporter in the back corner, invited by Derek's PR team to cover the announcement live. Derek stood at the head of the table, practically glowing. We are standing at the edge of history, he said. Solace Ventures sees what I've known for months. Halvex isn't a diagnostics company. It's a movement. A few people clapped. My engineers stared at their shoes. Then Derek turned, slow and deliberate, and faced me. Maya, he said, like a disappointed father. You built the original code. We're grateful. But what got us here won't get us there. We need visionaries. Not technicians. My face stayed still. A stone mask. Let him talk. Let him put every word on the record. I offered you a generous exit, he continued, lying to 50 people and one reporter. You refused. You tried to hold this company hostage over technicalities. Murmurs moved through the room. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated for cause, he said. Security will walk you out. 2 guards appeared at the door like he'd choreographed it. Maybe he had. You're making a mistake, Derek, I said quietly. The room was so silent it carried like a gunshot. The only mistake, he said, was thinking we needed you this long. The patent is Halvex property. Read your contract. I picked up my bag. I have, I said. Have you? I walked out of the aquarium, past 50 people who expected a scene, and gave them nothing but silence. The elevator doors closed on Derek lifting a glass of champagne, laughing with the board. He thought it was over. I opened my phone and typed 4 words to Renata Cole. He claimed ownership. Publicly. Execute the reversion. Her reply came back instantly. 24-hour clock starts now. I went home. I made tea. I sat on my balcony and watched the sun go down over Austin like nothing in the world was wrong. At 11:03 that morning, while I was still in the elevator, Renata had already sent the formal notice to Halvex's general counsel, a man named Walter Briggs, with the entire board copied. Per Section 9 of our master agreement, due to material breach and false claims of ownership, all usage rights to the HalvexDx patent would revert to me in 24 hours. Halvex would have to cease all operations using the technology, or face immediate infringement litigation. It wasn't a warning. It was a kill switch, and I had already pulled it. Around 4 that afternoon, Sam Whitfield texted me. Maya, something's wrong here. Walter just ran into Derek's office white as a sheet. Derek's screaming. You good? I'm great, Sam, I wrote back. Doing some gardening. By 6, my phone rang. Walter Briggs, not Derek. Derek was too proud to call himself. Maya, he said, voice tight. We received a deeply concerning notice from your attorney. I assume you mean the reversion notice, I said, sipping my tea. Let's not be rash. We can call the termination a layoff. We can increase severance. Pulling the license, that's nuclear. The company has no value without that license, Walter. Derek made that very clear this morning, on the record, in front of a reporter, when he said my patent was company property. There was a long silence. I'm simply confirming who actually owns it, I said. That's all. By 8 that night, the trade reporter who'd sat quietly in the corner of the aquarium published her story. The headline wasn't about a visionary CEO closing a historic deal. It was about a $420 million acquisition collapsing in real time, because the company's entire product ran on technology it didn't actually own, and had just publicly lied about owning, on the record, hours before the deal was set to close. Solace Ventures pulled out by morning. The board called an emergency session. Derek wasn't in it. They'd already removed him before sunrise. 3 weeks later, I signed a new licensing agreement. Not with Halvex. With a small hospital network that actually wanted to use HalvexDx to catch disease early instead of using it to inflate a stock price. Connor Reyes called me, apologizing, asking if there was any chance of a job. I gave him one. He earned it back, slowly. Sam Whitfield came with me on day 1. He never had to think twice. Derek Lansing, last I heard, was consulting for startups that haven't read his history yet. He built his empire on an engine he never owned. And when he finally tried to drive it without me, it simply turned off. That's the thing about people like Derek. They mistake the person who built the machine for a part of the machine. I was never a part of it. I was the one holding the key the entire time.